Scarlett Xiao had an affair. We had been together for 7 years, married for 4. In the end, he couldn't resist the novelty of a younger woman and her heart eyes. The day I discovered his infidelity, I sat by the window until dawn, plotting my revenge. She destroyed my marriage. I'll ruin her education and future. He betrayed my love. I'll take his wealth and happiness. No one gets to walk away unscathed. As Scarlett descended the stairs, I had just checked Chloe Lynn's latest social media post from a burner account. The college sweetheart wore a white blouse and denim skirt, captioning her photo, "Date night, go." I glanced at him. Same white shirt, same jeans. Even past 30, he still dressed like a college boy. Clearly, their outfits were coordinated. Scarlett approached, gently ruffled my hair, and smiled. "I'm heading out." I couldn't deny his looks. That handsome face had blinded me initially, especially when he smiled, all charm and warmth. Now, it only tasted like ashes. I smiled back, watching him leave. This would be our last tender moment. After today, he'd be furious. Perhaps a storm would break tonight. 6 months of meticulous planning, all to ensure mutual ruin. My laughter faded into silent tears, tracing down my cheeks. 11 years of shared history. After all, I'd given everything. Yet 6 months ago, he ultimately betrayed me. The day I discovered Scarlett Xiao's infidelity began utterly ordinary. We were having dinner as usual. This was our sacred hour to exchange the day's stories. Precious moments stolen between hectic schedules. We cherished these intimate hours all the more for their rarity. But that evening, his attention kept drifting. His phone pulsed with notifications, each reply curling his lips with unconscious tenderness. When his device chimed for the 3rd time, I set down my chopsticks, frowning. "What's so urgent?" My chopsticks clattered against the bowl. "Must you reply this instant?" Catching my displeasure, he pocketed the phone with practiced ease. "Just the night team troubleshooting," he soothed, dimples flashing. "Let's enjoy dinner, love." He tucked his phone away with theatrical remorse. "Just the night shift panicking," he cajoled, that dimpled smile disarming. "Come now, darling, no scowls at supper." His chopsticks delivered the prized fish eyes to my bowl. "Your favorite morsels," he murmured. I studied him, unease coiling in my chest. After 11 years, I knew his tells better than my own. We maintained our evening ritual, dinner, chatter, bedtime, but he never noticed I never slept. The pre-dawn silence pressed like a suffocating weight. Moonlight guided my fingers to his abandoned phone. We trusted each other implicitly, though we knew each other's passwords. We'd never snooped through our phones. Yet tonight, I did the very thing I once despised. I sat on the study sofa, scrolling through his phone. No unfamiliar names appeared in his chat list, but the project group chat had gone silent during dinner hours. I combed through his contacts. I was still pinned at the top. Then, as I scrolled, I noticed a mini profile pic. I tapped it, but the chat history was blank. Not even the initial greeting when strangers first connect. I opened the moments feed. With every swipe, I whispered prayers that there was nothing improper between them. Her feed brimmed with vibrant snapshots of an enviable life. Countless selfies of a young woman, confident, vivacious. Her sunflower-bright smile, so radiant even I found it disarming. 2 months back, Scarlett Xiao's chiseled profile appeared in one post. The caption read, "Asterisk interviewed my idol today. Thrilled to finally meet the brilliant senior I've admired for years." Asterisk. The photo's backdrop was Scarlett's office, perhaps meaningless. My grip on the phone trembled, yet hope still flickered. Further back, I found them together in a group photo. Dozens filled the frame, the two standing apart at A State University's anniversary celebration. I remember him mentioning how our alma mater had invited him to give a speech during the anniversary celebration, but I had a business trip out of town and couldn't attend. I recall how excitedly we reminisced about our school days over the phone that very day. Before that, there were no traces of any connection between the two. Looking back now, it must have been that anniversary event that brought them together. I traced back from that group photo, fragments of memory gradually sharpened. The day the girl posted about the viral diner. Scarlett Xiao told me the project team was working overtime. The day the girl posted about the Skyline restaurant. Scarlett Xiao said he had a client dinner. The day the girl posted swimming with dolphins. Scarlett Xiao again claimed overtime. Even the trending bakery treats he proudly brought home were from places he'd checked in with her. Though the photos contained no evidence of Scarlett Xiao's presence, I knew this wasn't just self-deception. I photographed these posts and messages, silently returned his phone to its place. Sitting by the window, I realized my hands and feet had long gone numb, arms wrapped tightly around myself. I curled into the bay window corner. Tears had already soaked my cheeks soundlessly, my mind in chaos, feeling nothing but bone-deep cold. Scarlett Xiao and I had loved each other for 11 years, dated for 7, been married for 4. I thought we'd walk this path forever. We had promised each other never to stray. But now, perhaps I had defined us too soon. In this moment, I hated how well I understood him. We met as freshmen at A State University's cafeteria. That day when I went to get food, my eyes immediately caught the handsome boy serving meals at the counter. Even the mask couldn't obscure his striking features. His fine brows were knitted together as he stared intently at the serving spoon in his hand. As I approached, I overheard the cafeteria auntie scolding him. "You need to flick your wrist. Don't give so much meat. Aya, that's enough. Enough. Don't be so generous." The student receiving the food rolled their eyes while thanking Scarlett Xiao. "Thanks, handsome." This exchange only made Scarlett at the counter more flustered. Standing there, I found it all amusing and eventually stepped up to that same window, watching his clumsy attempts to master the wrist flick technique, listening to the auntie's exasperated sighs. That afternoon, we crossed paths again in the library, approaching from opposite directions, our hands reaching for the same book, before we stared at each other in surprise. This time, he wasn't wearing a mask, his sharp jawline fully visible. Only one thought filled my mind. He really is beautiful. In that moment, time itself seemed to stand still, frozen in my stunned silence. He handed the book to me, picked up another, and turned to leave, without a single word, which irked me somewhat. After all, I'm quite the radiant and poised beauty myself. So I decided I'd go to his cafeteria line for dinner too, just to relish his flustered expression. But within 2 hours, we crossed paths again. At the debate team meeting, we were both freshman recruits. That's when I learned his name, Scarlett Xiao. When the meeting adjourned, I watched him hurry away. An idea struck me, and I quickly caught up to him. Scarlett Xiao. He turned to look at me, backlit. That fleeting moment felt like an arrow to my heart. "What is it?" His voice was magnetically deep. I stepped closer, smiling up at him, my eyes alight with sunshine. "Scarlett Xiao, we've met 3 times today. Ever heard the saying? Once is chance, twice is coincidence. But 3 times? That's fate." The corners of his lips lifted into a smile, his gaze softening, though his words weren't as sweet. "Never heard it. But Miss Lee, I'm late for my shift. See you." With that, he turned and rushed off again. Well, that flirtation was wasted on a brick wall. Still, I went to his line at dinner that evening. Gone was his noon awkwardness. He served me with a smile, even sneaking extra chicken drumstick meat onto my tray. We gravitated toward each other with unspoken understanding, learning one another's rhythms. The day we made it official was utterly ordinary in every way. After the club meeting, as we sorted materials together, he walked me back to my dorm. Beneath the dormitory lights, he produced a gift from his backpack, a delicate star bracelet. The usual mirth in his eyes had been replaced by palpable tension. "Noah Lee, would you be my girlfriend?" I'd never seen him so nervous. His voice quivered, and he moistened his lips afterward. I nodded vigorously, grinning so hard my cheeks ached. Hum. Then I handed him the bracelet to clasp around my wrist. His trembling fingers fumbled with the clasp for what felt like ages. That night, we lingered in each other's embrace until the campus lights dimmed. Back in my room, I writhed giddily under the sheets. 3 months of careful seduction had finally borne fruit. We became each other's bedrock through university, surviving the graduation breakup curse, weathering startup hardships, exchanging eternal vows before envious guests. The golden couple who'd beaten every odd. Through the years, We've polished each other into accomplished professionals. The man I meticulously sculpted, tender yet strong, distinguished with his chiseled frame, now dangles as forbidden fruit for another. That endless night, I scrutinized the girl's selfies until dawn forced my surrender. She was radiant, worthy enough to staff A State University's anniversary gala, credentialed enough to interview distinguished alumni. My replacement was, by all measures, exceptional. I tried to hypnotize myself into believing things weren't as bad as I thought. We'd sworn to be each other's one and only, pledged mutual trust till death do us part. The self-hypnosis failed. I've always been goal-oriented, ruthlessly decisive when endings are due. Unnoticed, the sun had risen, its warmth finally seeping into my bones. Not wanting Scarlett Xiao to see me disheveled, I tidied up and left early. When Scarlett called, I was already at the office. His just-woke-up voice dripped with sleep-rough tenderness. "Where'd you go, wifey?" "Had an early meeting. Didn't want to wake you," I said, forcing casualness into my voice. Not a tremor betrayed me. "Eat something. Love you." "Love you too." We conditioned ourselves to trade love yous like currency, to share every breath, to expect each other's faces at dawn. When had the orbit decayed, my head heavy in my hands, fingers clawing unconsciously at my hair, I exhaled a shuddering groan. After willing calm into my veins, I forwarded the girl's photo to a contact for investigation. Life resumed its facade. Scarlett never repeated that night's strangeness. Yet safety remained alien to me until the detective's report hit my inbox, sending ripples through the stone lodged in my chest. The investigator earned his fee. The dossier on the girl was thorough. Chloe Lynn hailed from the neighboring city, her parents being teachers at a prestigious high school. An exemplary student since childhood, she was now a junior in A State University's computer science program, Scarlett Xiao's direct junior. My suspicions were confirmed when the dossier contained photos of Scarlett and the girl together at viral diners, Skyline restaurants, and the cafe below Scarlett's office. Though the images showed no intimate gestures between them, there was an inexplicable harmony. Suddenly, I wanted to meet this girl. As it happened, I'd recently received an invitation from my graduate advisor to return for a lecture and interview. On presentation day, accompanied by my advisor and the department chair, I shared several case studies with students to great effect. Afterwards, my advisor specially arranged an interview with the Campus Gazette. Casually, I mentioned, "Scarlett Xiao said the junior reporter who interviewed him last time was quite good." Thus, my advisor specifically assigned Chloe Lynn to cover me. She'd attended my entire lecture. When the professor mentioned the sweetness between Scarlett and me, her expression visibly faltered. I greeted her with a smile, then deliberately added, "I read your last interview piece about my husband. Exceptionally written. I expect this one about me to be even better." The girl's grip visibly tightened around her handbag, the sparkle from the photographs gone from her eyes. After the lukewarm interview concluded, I dined with professors and several students, Chloe included, for reasons unknown. She hadn't chosen to avoid the gathering. At the dinner table, under my subtle guidance, our advisor repeatedly brought up mine and Scarlett Zhao's campus exploits. How we led the university debate team to win the collegiate championship. How Scarlett often attended classes with me. Watching Chloe Lynn's face grow paler by the minute, I suddenly felt this petty bullying of a young girl was utterly tiresome. That night when I returned home, Scarlett was waiting on the couch, phone in hand. She rose to meet me, saying, "How was your alma mater visit today? Why didn't you mention the Campus Gazette interview?" So the little girl had tattled, feigning ignorance. I glanced at her. The seminar feedback from the advisor was positive. The interview was all his arrangement. "Wait, how did you know about the Gazette piece?" Her smile faltered momentarily before she replied nonchalantly, "The junior reporter who interviewed you had previously interviewed me. We exchanged WeChat then. After covering you, she specifically messaged me saying we made a perfect match. A beat. The girl's got good instincts." I smirked at her fabrication, testing the waters. Odd, she never added me. Seems Senior Xiao holds special status in her eyes. Her arms around me stiffened, almost imperceptibly, before tightening possessively, swaying me slightly. "Wife is jealous." Her voice warmed. "I'm thrilled you care enough to be." But she probably added me just as an alumnus mentor. "You know you can trust me." As he spoke, his head nuzzled against my neck and shoulder with unmistakable intent. Yet inwardly, I longed to tear everything open and demand why he'd betrayed me. But reason held me back. With nothing but those ambiguous photos as evidence, I had no proof. Our 11 years had been too sweet. His treatment of me too perfect. So perfect that my parents adored him more. My friends trusted him implicitly. Not a soul in my life suspected he could be unfaithful. Making a scene now would only leave me worse off. Rage galloped through me like wild horses, desperate for release, yet finding no outlet. I wanted to claw that smile off his face, but instead muttered something about exhaustion and fled to the bathroom. That night, I jolted awake at dawn again, staring at the sleeping figure beside me with knife-sharp thoughts. Silently, I picked up his phone and reopened Chloe Lynn's profile. Still that blank chat window, either excessively cautious or blindly confident I'd never check. Her latest post showed a beaming selfie from the evening with the caption, "Got comforted, feeling blessed." The previous update, posted right after interviewing me that afternoon, read simply, "Devastated." I knew Scarlett Shao was the one who'd comforted this girl. Had it been voice messages or texts, what had they said? My head throbbed. My heart splintered. My trembling hands could barely grip the phone. Once more, I sat motionless until sunrise while he slept unaware. The next day, the draft of the young woman's interview article arrived in my inbox. "Quite well done, indeed," I replied with an okay. Neither of us had mentioned exchanging WeChat yesterday, and surprisingly, the girl kept her composure. However, the detective had already given me a burner account that followed Chloe Lynn every day. I scrolled through Chloe's moments like some kind of stalker. I despised my own behavior. Gradually, it all became numb, dull, indifferent. The day before, her social media updated. "Looking forward to the amusement park tomorrow." The next day, I tailed them like a creep. Scarlett Shao had swapped her morning suit for a sweatshirt matching the girls. Watching them from meters away as they held hands and played. The girl was a natural at coquetry. She'd swing Scarlett's arm while gazing up sweetly, murmuring words I couldn't hear, probably begging her to ride the roller coaster together. I thought Scarlett would refuse. 8 years ago, after I'd dragged her onto a roller coaster here, and she'd vomited, she swore she'd never ride one again. But I was wrong. Smiling, she ruffled the girl's hair and climbed aboard. As the coaster hurtled past, their screams ringing out, I repeated to myself, I had to make them pay. Even pale-lipped and drained after the ride, Scarlett still gently soothed the guilt-ridden girl. I followed them, watching as they wore matching Mickey and Minnie headbands. Watching Scarlett Shao tenderly wipe ice cream from Chloe Lynn's lips. Watching them walk hand in hand. Then, at some moment, or perhaps after it had accumulated to a breaking point, I stopped in my tracks, unable to follow any further. I stood there, letting passing tourists glance at me, walk past, or even bump into me, until a little girl of 4 or 5 handed me a tissue. "Auntie, don't cry." I looked down at her, my vision already blurred, and only then realized my face was streaked with tears. Taking the tissue, I thanked her with a smile, one that must have looked uglier than my crying, judging by the girl's solemn critique. Pretty aunties shouldn't cry. It makes them not pretty. She was right. I am beautiful. Scarlett Shao must have fed his conscience to the dogs and his eyes to the wolves. I didn't want to dig into why he cheated, why he broke his promises. I just wanted to pull myself away. Life is long. 11 years is nothing. I'm only 30. My life isn't even half over. I turned and walked away. I'm done with him, but he'll pay for this. Back home, I gradually calmed down. From that night, I first sensed something was wrong to now. Half a month of forced exposure to their interactions had numbed me. Enough disappointment had piled up to cancel out all the sweetness and happiness of the past. After organizing all movable and immovable assets, since I majored in finance, I'd been managing all family investments. I planned to bankrupt this household legally within 6 months. The real challenge was Scarlett Zhao's company. He'd started the venture during grad school, and after 7 years with multiple seed funding rounds, it was now at the critical juncture of going public. Yet, at this pivotal moment, he'd recklessly strayed, proof of that girl Chloe Lynn's place in his heart. I couldn't tell whether he'd weighed the consequences before choosing her, or simply assumed I'd tolerate her presence without divorcing or making a scene. Night deepened when he finally returned, having swapped his amusement park attire for the morning's business suit. The ease of his transformation sickened me. Seeing me on the sofa, he approached for an embrace. Oddly, though no foreign scent clung to him, revulsion still coiled in my gut. He pulled me close, murmuring exhausted complaints about overtime. In the shadow beyond his sight, my eyes burned with loathing. How dare he treat me like a fool to be placated? To avoid suspicion, I maintained our usual routine, casually mentioning an investment opportunity introduced by a senior colleague. He chuckled, saying he trusted my judgment completely. I funneled cash flows and mortgaged real estate funds into these investments gradually. He never noticed. On the day, I saw photos of him kissing Chloe Lynn on the street. I paid off several people in her circle to lure her into luxury spending, high-end parties, the glittering social scene, anything to feed her growing materialism. I watched Scarlett Zhao foot her bills, watched as I elevated Chloe to dizzying heights, anticipating the day she'd come crashing down. The day I discovered their hotel rendezvous, I'd already drained our household assets into debt, with Scarlett Zhao's personal funds running tight unless he tapped company resources. I orchestrated Chloe's scheme. She coaxed him into buying her real estate, squeezing him dry until he had no choice but to dip into corporate funds. Later, when photos surfaced of them entering their new home, I finalized plans to oust Scarlett Zhao during the seed funding round. How devastating it must feel, I mused, to have the venture you nurtured for 7 years ripped away. I executed it all in silence, without confiding in a soul. We still played the doting couple flawlessly, exchanging vows of trust, shared dreams, and affection with award-worthy performances. Now, as the final act looms, these 6 months of bitterness remain mine alone to bear. Scarlett Zhao, who left home that morning in her white shirt and jeans, should have received the divorce filing and asset freeze notice by noon. Chloe Lynn would likely get served with the marital assets recovery claim around the same time, though, through my careful maneuvering, including the real estate, the total amounted to barely 10 million yuan. After Scarlett left, I went upstairs to pack all his belongings, finally able to evict him after enduring 6 months of pretense. When Scarlett returned, his possessions were piled outside. The door code had been changed, his fingerprint erased. Through the security feed, I watched him ring the bell, saw his hands clench then drop helplessly. His morning cheer evaporated into visible agitation. I observed silently as he paced in growing distress. When I refused to answer, he pulled out his phone. Mine rang persistently until I finally picked up. Open the door. Let's talk properly. His voice carried exhaustion and plea. We'll communicate through lawyers now. Silence answered. The monitor showed him slumping against the doorway. Seeing the man I'd loved for 11 years like this still wrenched my heart. We'd grown together from youth to adulthood, from naivety to maturity. I don't want this divorce. His voice sank like stone. We'll settle in court. Scarlett Zhao. I hung up the phone, watching him on the security monitor staring blankly at the disconnected device. Sitting motionless, just a door apart, I lay in bed. Yet another sleepless night. He remained seated by the doorway all night. What thoughts consumed him? Remorse? Self-reproach? Or resentment toward me? With resignation, I opened the door. When he saw me, he struggled to stand, his face twisted in anguish. Scarlett Zhao, we have nothing left to discuss. You and Chloe Lynn have received the notices. Haven't you? I'll reclaim the marital assets from her. As for you, divorce, litigation, everything goes through lawyers now. He lunged forward, grasping my hand. Zhao Yi, let's talk. We stood facing each other like that for for a long while, so close yet oceans apart. Xiao-yi, we loved each other for 11 years. Please, just hear me out. He knew I've always been weak to pleading. 11 years? What does that change? You still betrayed me. What could you possibly say? You know I never tolerate impurities. I scoffed, but bitterness seeped through my words. Xiao-yi. His eyes still held that tortured gaze. The very features I'd once fallen for now seemed dulled, their luster gone. I stepped aside, gesturing him in. He sat on the sofa, head bowed, avoiding my eyes. Xiao-yi, I love you. Divorce was never my intention. Can you believe that? I scoffed silently, letting him ramble on. I know you can't tolerate any flaws. You probably won't forgive me this time. When I got the notice yesterday, my first thought was how much it must have hurt you. How long have you known? How long have you been hurting? Xiao-yi, I love you. Even now, I love you. Do you still believe that? He looked up at me with hopeful eyes, and I found it utterly ridiculous. You ask if I believe? I don't dare. Stop defiling the word love. He must have felt the irony too, letting out a bitter chuckle. We loved each other for 11 years. I always believed we'd walk this path together. Simple, quiet, but happy. Then Chloe Lynn appeared like a live fish leaping into a still aquarium. She stirred ripples in my placid heart. She looked at me with heart eyes, calling me her idol, showering me with admiration and excitement I never felt from you. Slowly, I grew greedy. I told her I had a wife and would never divorce. Yet she still threw herself at me like a moth to flame, saying she just wanted moments of my time. You know, all these years, I've turned down so many women. People joked I was henpecked, and I laughed it off. But Chloe's tears after rejection got to me. I realized I couldn't refuse her anymore. I won't deny I have feelings for her. Am I too greedy? Clinging to both? Chloe won't interfere. She'll behave. Xiao-yi, can we not divorce? Listening to his outrageous nonsense, I was momentarily at a loss for how to react. How dare he assume I tolerate such filthy thoughts? So, what if the girl was obedient? I'd love to crack open his skull to see what's inside. Had it been filled with water these past few years? Time doesn't always reveal a person's true nature. Scarlet Xiao, suddenly, I don't understand you anymore. Perhaps I never understood men as a species. Stop making excuses for your infidelity. I've always believed in wholehearted commitment. If you want to talk, speak properly. I didn't agree to hear this garbage. I coldly cut him off. Regarding the money you gave Chloe Lynn, I've had it investigated. The apartment is being reclaimed, and every cent of the remaining $3 million will be recovered. Don't even think about covering the payments yourself. Before the divorce, you won't misappropriate another penny. Our current assets are debts, which we'll share. The shares under my name in your company stay with me, and I'll take 40% of those under yours. Debts? Our household cash flow has always been healthy. How could we possibly have debts? Mention of money finally snapped him out of his self-absorbed monologue. Failed investments, all legally documented. Your lawyer will receive the breakdown during proceedings. He suddenly laughed with bitter irony. You've been planning this for a while, haven't you? Always so calculated, so self-absorbed. Seeing the mockery in his eyes and hearing his projection, the fury I'd suppressed finally erupted. Yes, I admit it. I'm selfish. Scarlet Xiao. For 11 years, I've been devoted only to you, never once betraying this family. But you destroyed everything I painstakingly built. Do you have any idea? I've seen your reunion photos with her. The profile shots she took of you. Watched you dress younger just to match her style. I've seen the pictures of you kissing, entering hotels together, holding hands while sightseeing. I even followed you to the amusement park, stood just meters away sobbing as you accompanied her. Do you understand? You bastard. I never imagined we'd come to this. Fine, call me petty, Scarlet Xiao, but mark my words. I won't let either of you off easy. Get out. Like a madwoman, I grabbed the stunned Scarlet Xiao and shoved him out the door before he could react. Then I collapsed against the doorframe, wailing uncontrollably as fury poured out of me. Through the door, I heard his faint whisper, "I'm sorry. What good did that do now?" The lawyer proceeded with our plan, prioritizing the lawsuit against Chloe Lynn. after submitting evidence of Chloe Lynn's misconduct to A State University. I waited for her disciplinary consequences. After all, neither Scarlett Shao nor I were nobodies. Wall Street and Silicon Valley buzzed with every possible version of our marital collapse. His company's seed funding stalled indefinitely, and the disgraced Chloe Lynn could never show her face in those circles again. When my parents called, it was the first time I'd felt timid since deciding to divorce. After all, they adored Scarlett Shao. They remembered her favorite foods, her little habits. Every time we visited, the table would be laden with dishes she loved. They'd praise her to everyone as the perfect daughter-in-law, filial, devoted to me, a homemaker. Facing their potential disappointment in this situation terrified me. Mom, I answer the phone, truly at a loss for words. Shao-yi, have you eaten dinner yet? Yeah, I have. What about you two? We have too. No matter what happens, take care of yourself. Do your father and I need to come over? Her usual cheerfulness was gone from her voice. No questions about why we were divorcing. No attempts to reconcile. Just that simple sentence. My eyes welled up again. I'm sorry, Mom. I've let you down. I failed at marriage. You liked her so much. This must be embarrassing for you in front of relatives and neighbors. Listen, girl, you did nothing wrong. She's the one who wasn't good enough. If someone's no good, you replace them. Simple as that. We only liked her because she treated you well. The moment you don't want her, she's nothing. What's reputation compared to my daughter's happiness? Shao-yi, your dad's here. Don't be afraid. Do what you need to do. Dad's firm words gave me the first real peace I'd felt in 6 months. All my life, I'd been the model child, never once disappointing them. This divorce, their potential disappointment, had been my greatest fear. My parents, fearing I couldn't bear the loneliness, came specifically to take care of me, a gesture that was both heartwarming and mildly exasperating. Later, I learned that Scarlett Shao and her parents had repeatedly contacted my folks to dissuade me from escalating matters. But my parents steadfastly refused, offering me their unwavering support and concern. The legal proceedings progressed smoothly, with Chloe Lynn ordered to return the embezzled funds as stipulated by the court's judgment. A State University, after reviewing the evidence, expelled Chloe Lynn, a once promising academic star, now stripped of her future. The day after the verdict was issued, Chloe Lynn requested to meet me. This girl had never confronted me directly nor publicly revealed her relationship with Scarlett Shao through any channel. I was genuinely curious what drove her to this point. When we met again, none of her previous vivacity remained. Her eyes burned with nothing but resentment and bitterness when they fell upon me. Looking at her, I could only feel pity. Happy now? I got expelled. All that effort to get into A State destroyed by you. You destroyed it yourself. I replied with icy calm. I'll have you know I love him and he loves me. What does it matter if he got me expelled? Scarlett Shao promised he'd find a way to take care of me. 11 years together means nothing. He told me he's truly happy with me. You know what? I was prepared to stay quietly by his side forever, even if he never divorced you. But since you're divorcing him, I should really thank you. I stared wordlessly at the furious young woman before me. I once thought her clever, but now she seemed just another fool. Whether blinded by love or rage, I couldn't tell. Why come picking fights with me? So, you wanted to be the concubine all along? My words left her speechless, her face flushing crimson. Clearly, she had no worthwhile retort. Since our divorce isn't finalized yet, as the lawful wife, I can still arrange a concubine for him. Just you wait. I rose and walked away, done listening to her hysterics. Immediately, I sent people to her hometown with banners. By next day, her family's apartment complex and the school gates where her parents worked bore identical declarations. The Lynn parents teach virtue, yet raise a daughter skilled in seduction, snaring married men to become concubines. We hereby accept her as one. Rumors spread that Mr. Lynn suffered public humiliation at school, then worse shame at home. Overcome with rage, he landed in the hospital. Chloe Lynn rushed back, only to face parental reproach and neighborhood condemnation. Online, the scandal exploded. a deluge of denunciations and vitriol. Meanwhile, my relentless lawyer finally recovered the house and $3 million in cash. The asset freeze I'd filed against Scarlett Xiao left her unable to intervene. In the end, Chloe Lynn had to liquidate all her luxury goods and borrow heavily to scrape together $2 million. Scarlett Xiao had to borrow another $1 million through alternative channels to repay the debt. Of course, I preserved the evidence to claim it as post-divorce liability. While Chloe Lynn's life was in disarray, Scarlett Xiao's situation grew even more chaotic. Because of our divorce filing, his company's seed funding remained indefinitely stalled. Burdened by household debts, he resisted finalizing the divorce, yet couldn't prove I'd intentionally diverted assets. Dragging out the proceedings endlessly. In their respective turmoil, they ceased being each other's solace. Chloe berated him for his neglect, his promises to resolve her academic troubles unfulfilled, his absence even during her father's hospitalization, leaving her future ruined, reputation tarnished, parents reproachful, and besieged by online vitriol. And in her, Scarlett saw no trace of the vibrant joy she once embodied. Only shackles. Finally, under crushing pressure to secure the company's seed funding, Scarlett acknowledged the marital debts and accepted my divorce terms, with the stipulation that my shares could only be sold back to him. Thus, he divorced bearing tens of millions in liabilities. He believed he'd salvaged his company. Little did he know I'd already mobilized my investment network to manipulate his final funding round, conspiring with fellow investors to oust him. When the funding closed and he was forced out, I made sure to witness his departure in person, watching him walk out of my office, cradling a cardboard box, through the workstations, leaving the battlefield he'd fought so hard to conquer. My heart wasn't as triumphant as I'd imagined. When our company went public at NASDAQ, nobody remembered Scarlett Xiao as the founder. Perhaps some did, but his name would never be spoken again. He must be watching from some forgotten corner, grieving as his carefully nurtured child drifted further away. After everything settled, I took a sabbatical to Africa, the trip we'd always planned but never took. I saw impoverished African children still brimming with hope, witnessed the raw majesty of the Great Migration, standing on that vast, primordial savanna. I finally released these 11 years, all of it, the good and bad, now just history. Scarlett Xiao resurfaced 2 years later at a tech summit. They said he'd started anew, but his product line lacked edge. Every investment drowned, leaving him drowning in debt. Our paths crossed again at an investor conference. Him seeking funding, me wearing the investor badge. He was drinking toast after toast with VCs, still wearing the suit I'd bought him years ago. Now it hung loose on his gaunt frame, the fabric sagging like his fortunes. At my table, surrounded by petitioners vying for capital, our eyes met across the room, strangers, watching him clutch his stomach. I knew his gastritis had flared up again during our startup days. He'd ruined his gut with endless drinking. Later, when the company succeeded and the forced toast stopped, combined with my meticulous care, he'd recovered. Now, the stomach I'd nursed back to health was suffering for someone else. After the gathering dispersed, I sat in the Cullinan watching frail, pale Chloe Lynn in her simple clothes helped Scarlett Xiao into a taxi. She gotten exactly what she'd asked for. Upon returning from vacation, I'd received reports about them. Rumors said Chloe's parents retired early and relocated from shame. Though unable to finish her degree, she stayed by Scarlett's side through his new venture. Later, friends in our circle asked if I wanted to keep making trouble for them. I declined. Between the scandal of embezzling company funds for his mistress and Silicon Valley's relentless evolution, Scarlett Xiao would never regain his former glory, doomed to walk a hardscrabble path with Chloe. At this point, enough was enough. A hand reached over, clasping mine as its owner laughed. "What are you looking at?" I turned to the man in the passenger seat, interlacing our fingers with a blissful smile. "You." His radiant grin bloomed. Scarlett Xiao had been right. Youth did bring a certain vivid excitement. Epilogue. In the blink of an eye, Scarlett Xiao spotted Noah, Lee surrounded by admirers, his designer suit accentuating every graceful movement. She moved effortlessly among the titans, discussing billion-dollar investments, a circle I could never re-enter. We'd ultimately become inhabitants of separate worlds. Over 2 years since we'd last met, at Genova Tech's IPO bell ceremony, where I'd only watched her silently from the crowd. Now, we stood face to face again. I glanced down at my ill-fitting suit, a 3-year-old relic, a bitter smile. I averted my gaze. No time for sentimentality, turning urgently to seek investors for Newcrest Technologies. After being ousted from Genova Tech on the eve of its going public, I'd founded Newcrest. But without resources or a disruptive product line, we'd lost our competitive edge. Without funding within a month, we'd fold. The same VCs I'd once dismissed now became my last resort. Drink after drink, begging for mere millions. MS. Shao. Had this been Genova Tech, I'd have gladly offered $10 million for a stake. But Newcrest? Let's not waste each other's time. Mr. Lee, I built Genova. I'll build Newcrest. Your investment will pay dividends. One of the 2 remaining VCs who'd still speak to me shook his head mid-sentence. The entire VC circle sees no future in Newcrest. You'd better pivot. MS. Shao. Another investor from Scarlett Zhao's circle patted his shoulder with well-meaning advice. Scarlett nodded in gratitude, fully aware of the harsh reality, yet unwilling to concede. As the cocktail party wound down, another fruitless endeavor loomed before him. Investment pitch dinners had followed one after another, reigniting the stomach ailment Noah had once nursed him through. Pain radiated through his body as he clutched his abdomen, staggering toward the restroom. Just outside the door, bathroom chatter spilled into the hallway. Scarlett Zhao's truly pitiful now. Getting booted from Jino means he'll never bounce back. That new product line of his is garbage. With his ruined reputation in Silicon Valley and investor circles, who'd fund him? He reaped what he sowed. Noah Lee was brilliant, yet he dared cheat. That he's still allowed in these circles is pure charity. Successful men all have wandering eyes, but smart ones keep it where the wife permits. His arrogance defied sense. Chairman Lin speaks from experience. Ha ha ha. The bathroom banter spiraled into vulgarity, but such commentary had long since ceased to faze Scarlett. When the gossips emerged to find his ashen face, they knew he'd overheard. 3 years prior, they'd have groveled with apologies. Now they simply smiled and walked away. When Scarlett Zhao walked back into the banquet hall, it stood empty. Clutching his aching stomach, he descended the stairs. Chloe Lin waited in the lobby. Spotting Scarlett emerging from the elevator, she hurried over. Did you secure the investment? No. How could you still not get funding? The company's on its last legs. Our family's broke. If only you hadn't fallen into Noah Lee's trap and been forced out right before Genova Tech went public, we wouldn't be in this mess. Oblivious to Scarlett's discomfort, Chloe rattled off complaints. The 2-year free fall from their former heights had long shattered her idolized image of him. Chloe, my stomach. He remembered Genova Tech's early days. Endless networking dinners. But Noah would always accompany him or prepare stomach-soothing remedies. Later, she'd even hired renowned TCM doctors and personally cooked medicinal meals after the company stabilized. That chronic stomach of yours, just take some painkillers later. Now Chloe's solution was merely painkillers. The former reverence had decayed into indifference. They boarded a taxi. Scarlett had long sold his car to cover expenses. As the cab pulled away, he glimpsed Noah in her Cullinan. A new man sat beside her. The way her eyes sparkled looking at him was how she once gazed at Scarlett. Whether it was jealousy from witnessing that scene earlier, the damp taxi air thick with sweat, or simply an upset stomach, nausea surged through her. Seeing Scarlett Zhao about to vomit, the cabbie barked, "Don't puke in my car. Cleanup fees extra." Chloe Lin hastily pulled a plastic bag from her purse. Scarlett glanced at the bag, then at Chloe's pinched, irritated expression, swallowing hard before turning to the rain-streaked window. Her knuckles whitened around the crumpled plastic. The driver muttered under his breath. Thought everyone coming from that place was some big-shot tycoon. Rain hammered the windshield like impatient fingers tapping glass. Chloe's complaints spilled out. 2 years of this. Company drowning in debt. I thought you'd build another Gino, but look at us. Should have invested elsewhere. Bought property. Now, nothing. I dropped out of college for you. Endured this manipulative life. Haven't bought clothes in years. Budgeting every meal. I'm barely 20. Her choked whispers tightened the already suffocating space. Wasn't this your choice? Scarlett's voice cut through the humidity. You came to me first, remember? This wasn't the first complaint of its kind. Scarlett Xiao had always endured them silently before, but this time, he refused to suffer alone. His voice turned icy as he glared at Chloe Lynn with scathing mockery and barely contained fury, making her shudder. Only after a long silence did Scarlett Xiao finally turn his gaze back to the window. How had things come to this? Scarlett Xiao's clenched right fist slammed against the seat beside him, powerless to dispel the suffocating frustration. He and Noah Lee had shared 11 years together. From their very first meeting in university, when that girl witnessed his embarrassing moment and somehow carved herself into his heart. Her effortless confidence had captivated him completely, yet buried in his subconscious was an unacknowledged inferiority, making him wait for her to make the first move even as he longed for her. Only after securing her wholehearted devotion did he finally confess, letting nature take its course. Noah Lee was exceptional, coming from privilege. She introduced small-town boy Scarlett Xiao to countless first experiences, broadened his horizons, and meticulously managed their lives so he could chase ambitions unhindered. Gino succeeded until his ego trip began. Chloe Lynn appeared at the peak of his success. Her adoring gaze and dependent femininity offered something Noah never had, temporarily gratifying his macho complex. He'd never considered divorce, but couldn't resist those adoring, worshipful eyes. The arrangement seemed perfect. Noah Lee at home for stability, Chloe Lynn for carefree moments. He'd forgotten Noah was never one to suffer losses quietly. Reality proved it wasn't Noah Lee who couldn't live without Scarlett Xiao. Without Noah, Scarlett Xiao amounted to nothing. When forced out of Genova Tech, Noah had shown mercy. The stock sale proceeds could have funded a modest, manipulative existence. But Chloe's subtle hints about their past lavish lifestyle stoked his resentment. His new venture lacked the innovation and connections of before, burdened by his reputation for infidelity and embezzlement in Silicon Valley's cutthroat environment. This time, he couldn't recover. They trudged upstairs wearily. The open door revealed domestic chaos. Chloe had never been one for housekeeping. Scarlett used to clean occasionally, excusing her youth. Tonight, exhaustion prevailed. He stepped past takeout containers littering the coffee table, ignored laundry, clean and dirty, piled on the sofa, and dragged himself to bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. Chloe approached cautiously. Today's version of Scarlett frightened her. Is your stomach still hurting? Should I get painkillers? Did you collect your test results from last time? The gnawing pain in his stomach could no longer be ignored. He'd been too busy to collect his test results after the last examination. I forgot. I'll get them tomorrow. Been swamped lately, juggling the company and family. Scarlett Xiao closed his eyes, deaf to Chloe Lynn's words, and muttered, I'll go myself. Stage 4 cancer. Staring at the results in his hand, Scarlett felt no surprise, only the eerie calm of inevitability settling over him. The doctor's voice droned on, but his mind had already wandered. This was karma, wasn't it? Slumped on a hospital lobby chair, he watched the stream of passersby. The company's financial strain and the desperate hunt for treatment funds collided in his mind, sharpening his will to survive. A sudden realization struck him. Noah Lee's insistence on those annual six-figure insurance premiums he'd once protested now became his last resort. Too weak to steer the company now, Xinxing had to be sold before collapse. The proceeds wouldn't clear debts, but cutting losses was imperative. Scarlett mapped each step with uncharacteristic pragmatism. Chloe only learned of the sale after it was done. Her 2 years of playing the struggling future trophy wife, clinging to delusions of restored luxury, ended with her dreams shattered, tipping her into madness. Scarlett Xiao, you bastard, you promised me a good life. How could you sell the company behind my back? What were you thinking? After all the hardship I've endured with you, are you even a man? You've ruined me. Scarlett Shao. Watching the hysterical figure before her, Scarlett felt only regret. I have stage 4 cancer. Those words silenced Chloe Lynn's sobs instantly. I had to make a plan. The company couldn't survive. We needed to cut losses. There are still some debts after the sale, but selling this house and cashing in my insurance money should cover most of it. As for my illness, the insurance will handle it. If we're careful, even an ordinary job could sustain us. Sell the house. I won't allow it. 11 years of shared history. After all, Scarlett Shao glanced at Chloe before continuing coldly. The house was bought before marriage. Selling it is my decision alone, but the debts are marital. So you either follow my lead or walk away burdened with half of them. Chloe stood frozen, visibly shattered by the blow. Scarlett waited, giving her time to absorb the truth. Insurance? What insurance? After a long days, Chloe could only resign herself to compliance. The policy I made you deposit into yearly, the one Noah researched for entrepreneurs like us, cost us over $100,000 annually, but now it's our lifeline. Seeing the hollow, bewildered look in Chloe Lynn's eyes, a terrible premonition welled up inside me. Don't tell me you didn't save it. Chloe hung her head, her voice trembling with suppressed tears. I didn't understand any of this. I just thought spending over $100,000 a year was too much. I truly had no idea. At that moment, Scarlett Zhao's furious despair evaporated entirely. She didn't even have the energy left to ask where the money had gone. Scarlett wished desperately that this was all a nightmare, that she'd wake up 3 years earlier, steer clear of Chloe Lynn, and protect the home she built with Noah Lee. But the world offers no antidote for regret. Every step must be accounted for. Without expensive medical treatment, Scarlett didn't last long. She passed away a year later. In her final days, Chloe tended to her resentfully, catching her puke, keeping sleepless vigils. Her youthful bloom withered before 25, not out of devotion, but fear. Abandoning Scarlett would leave her saddled with half the debts. Fortunately, Scarlett had made some provisions for Chloe. She sold their apartment and liquidated her private wealth management holdings, clearing most debts and leaving Chloe with next to nothing. In the dead of night, Chloe Lynn sat on the narrow bed of her studio apartment, oscillating between visions of a glamorous future as a golden-collar professional and fantasies of becoming a wealthy Mrs. Shao, living in marital bliss with Scarlett. Yet reality offered neither home nor refuge. With even her gig jobs coming unpredictably, her fellow gig workers kept their distance. This girl in the bloom of youth had become a paranoid wreck, vacillating between bitter resentment and the empty shell of confusion.